So that's really loud. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. Can't thank you enough for being able to make it. Really happy that you've been able to see the show. And also thanks for everyone coming tonight. As Dino was saying, this is the first time that we've done a talk here, which is kind of like exciting, nerve-wracking at the same time. So I guess we'll just start with the show, really. So this is A Mother's Love, Cáit and Éiméar McClay, a video work from 2022. I reached out to both of you earlier this year. I can't remember when, but I've been following their work for like a few years, and I've just been loving everything that they've been doing, and their work's really exciting to me. And I felt like I wanted to kind of look at their work in a different way and see if we could, you know, bring the filmic and cinematic elements into the space. So as I say, this is like the first time that we've done this. I won't hog the mic forever. We've kind of got some questions to go off of. We might like veer away from that. I don't know. But I think the setup for today is we're just going to kind of take it in turns to ask you questions, and it'll be super chill. Okay. Is that cool? Cool. So I guess we could just get started, really. Would you like to introduce yourselves maybe and tell us a bit about your work, however you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I'm Kat, and yeah, I'm Éiméar. Yeah, we've been like working together for like a few years on like 3D animation, but like mostly focused around Ireland because we're both Irish, but I feel like we've been like focusing mainly on like the kind of like post-colonial period and like the free state of like Ireland and like different like institutions that like arose, and kind of looking critically at how like colonialism has like affected the kind of like political development of like of Ireland across like the 20th century. Yeah.
So I think a really interesting question for me is, where are you based at the moment?
We're both based in London at the minute, but we've been based in Glasgow, like, because we moved to London, like, both of us, like, 3 weeks ago, because we're both doing a postgrad that's, like, starting in September, but before that, we'd, like, lived in Scotland for 7 years between, like, Glasgow and Edinburgh. Yeah, because, like, this work was made, like, when we were living, like, in Glasgow, like, when we graduated from undergrad, we had, like, a period of, like, working professionally for, like, 3 years, but yeah, we're like going back to study like in September. That's what like why we're in London.
And as a duo, like, do you share a studio together?
We don't actually have a studio because I feel like because we like mostly make 3D animation and like digital stuff, we've like worked from home on our computers, and we have a 3D printer that we've made like some sculptural stuff on and like done some outsourcing, but I feel like we've never done like enough like actually like material work to like really justify having a studio, which has been interesting, like in terms of like how the actual like working environment has been. But yeah, like we don't actually have like a studio space. Although I feel like we've like gotten like funding like recently to do like stained glass work and jewelry, and we've like worked in like other spaces. It's like something we might do like in like future. It's like trying to like expand like a bit into like physical work, like moving forward, like we like might like do that. But I feel like a lot of the stuff we've done like up until now is kind of like rooted like in the computer. Yeah.
And you studied it in Edinburgh, right?
Yeah, we like both studied in Edinburgh, like in like the art school that's like part of University of Edinburgh.
And what's the MA you're doing in London now? Where are you in London?
It's actually like an MA called like, and like overall it's called like research architecture, but it's part of like I feel like there's like an institute in like Goldsmiths called like the Center for Research Architecture, but it's like in there, and it's like a bit of like a move away from like what we're doing like at the minute. Like I feel like we've been making like video work about like different institutions in Ireland that uses like 3D quite like creatively, and more of a way where we've been kind of like designing objects and like worlding and stuff. I feel like the postgrad that we're doing is more kind of like looking at things like politically in a more like research oriented way, and like there are classes in 3D and stuff, but it's more like photogrammetry and like mapping like real life situations, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, cool. I wanted to ask you about kind of Glasgow and Edinburgh and those cities because of Birmingham and us being in Birmingham, and Birmingham having kind of an artistic scene here in Digbeth on the south side of the city centre, and artists are at the moment moving out from London to come to Birmingham to live and like work here, which is really cool, I think. And I know Glasgow has obviously been a massive draw for artists over like the last 10 years. Like it's been seen as like an artist city, right? Where people escape London and go to Glasgow and like have a really good time there, like cheap studio rents. But I feel like that's changing at the moment. I don't know. How did you find Glasgow? Like, is it? Yeah.
I do think that even like with like moving to London, like recently, like a lot of like how we have been able to like produce like work over the last number of years is because of living in Glasgow. Like I find Glasgow much more sustainable. It's like a lot of people I know who like live and like work there as like artists. It's possible to have like a part-time job and like pay rent and like do like enough like work on the side or like sustain yourself without very much like money. It's like I moved to London because there's like a particular post-grad I like want to do, but I think long term I'm not really sure. It's like much like less sustainable to like work as an artist. Like I think I find somewhere like Birmingham interesting. Like also it's like I think when rent or like your cost of living is like cheaper, even like this space, it's like more possible to like propagate something like a grassroots like way. I feel like even like in the short time I've like lived in London, I'm like it's like much less like possible to like do like a similar like kind of thing, because like every like single like aspect of life is like a little bit like more expensive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I feel like it's kind of hard also. Like I feel like cities like Birmingham and Glasgow and stuff, I feel like the work we make is like we can't really like sell it or anything, so we're always trying to like apply for like funding to do stuff. But I think it's like easier to like live a life somewhere like Glasgow where you can like get by with having like cheap rent, not work that much, and like do that like on the side. I feel like I like find it really noticeable. Like even when I moved to London like a few weeks ago, I feel like I could not do that there like at all, and like things move so quickly. Like there's something like nice about like Glasgow, or like I don't know like how much it costs to like live in Birmingham, but it's like not London. I feel like it's like easier.
It's not quite London prices. We've been in London this last week, and it's talking to people that runs galleries there, and it's all like super formalized. This is all this we're doing here is still self-funded, and we can only do it because it's kind of just about affordable to do sort of thing, which is great because Birmingham currently allows that. I wonder after you do your postgrad whether you like, are you going to stay in London or whether you move back to Glasgow or maybe Ireland, or are you going to, I don't know if you've got plans to go like leave London once you've kind of got that course.
I'm not really sure, because I feel like we like work together at the minute, but I feel like when we work together at the minute we're like making video work and like applying for funding in like a really particular way, and I do like being able to like do what I want and like get like some kind of money for it and like sustain it. But it's like also like I don't know, it's like a very like non-commercial pursuit, and like it's like very draining after a while. Like I feel like I don't know, like I feel like when I'm like doing like a postgrad in London and stuff, like I'm not really sure what I want to do. Like I feel like with like art, I feel like I have like so many friends who just like don't really do it anymore, but I feel like that's like so depressing. But I feel like even when I'm doing like a postgrad, it's like kind of like reorientating like slightly like what I'm doing. I like do still want to make art, but I feel like I might like do art or like research or like get like if I stayed in London I would like need to get like a job. I feel like it's like with art it's like always so hard to like balance like doing things. It's like when people ask me what I want to do, I'm like I don't really know. Like I kind of want to do like a practice-based PhD, but it's like that's just like getting paid a bit to like do what I'm doing already. I'm like sorry.
I suppose kind of
it's like I'm not gonna future planning.
I suppose kind of getting onto that question really, because when we're sort of devising this talk and putting it together, we were thinking about like all the things that we wanted to ask you about the work and about your practice and everything. And one of the things that really interested me was the fact that you are a duo and you're sisters and you work together. And I think one of the things that I was really interested to know was what that dynamic is like.
I think like when we like made work separately, like on undergrad, our work was like quite similar because we have kind of like a dialogue with each other around like visual culture, and like our influences are so similar that our work like ended up being quite similar anyway. Like in a way it made sense for us to try and like make work together, and it made me like realize I kind of prefer like making work collaboratively, but I think it's quite difficult to find someone that you enjoy like working with or who thinks like in the same way. I think like almost like fundamentally even like detached from like each other, we like each like enjoy working collaboratively. I feel like it gives you some kind of like confidence or like feedback like really automatically, and there's something really like joyful about having this kind of relationship with like another person where you can like share or produce something collectively. And I think it helps me to like distance myself a little bit from like some kind of like narcissistic like sense of like ownership over like a particular like thing. Like it makes me feel, I don't know, with like an ego thing, like with like art, it's like I like feel like joy with like seeing her like making like a thing and not like attaching myself like so much like to it. It's like something we like share like together, but I feel like I would like to do that with like any other person, but I think we like kind of have such like a compatible sort of like aesthetic kind of, and like also whatever like kind of conceptual like attraction towards certain things that like it works for us to do something together. But I feel like even in the absence of like her, I would also like prefer to like work with like other people. I think it's like hard because I feel like also because we have like so many like opinions in common about stuff, it's like quite hard to find someone where like, I think also because like we know each other so well, there's like a level of like communication, like active communication that like I would need to do with like somebody else. Like it would be like more effort for me to like collaborate with like someone else, because like there's like a lot of like assumed stuff like between us that's like very hard to like replicate because we just like know each other like so well. And I feel like we've kind of like built up like a collaborative like visual style, because like I feel like we like talk about stuff so much, just like even if we like separated our work individually would look so similar that that's also quite weird. Like I don't know what to do with that.
I guess another thing that also interested me, because I know that a lot of your work that I've seen so far is like film, like 3D rendered video work, and I've seen like 3D printed sculptures, like crucifixes and daggers and all sorts. And I suppose going down that line of inquiry about sculpture, do you see yourselves like splintering off in different directions, or do you think you'll always kind of work collaboratively and like have that mutual ownership over the work, if that makes sense?
I don't really ever see myself like working like on my own, just because like I don't really like doing that. Like I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like especially with something like fine art, like I think like sometimes fine art can be very about like one person and kind of like individualistic, and I don't really like that. Like I don't feel like drawn to like that as like a thing. Like I think like with us like together, it kind of like dilutes that a bit. Like I feel like even like when I'm gonna do like a postgrad that's like more like a bit away from like, it's like still like fine art basically, but I feel like it's kind of like a bit like removed from that. Like I kind of like would rather work collaboratively. And I think with like the way that we work and the kind of stuff that we're doing at the minute, I feel like we just like found like a thing that we want to do together, but I'm like open to like wanting to do things with like another person. But I think like the particular work we're making at the minute, I can't really see like me making that with like somebody else, but also like I would like to like do something different because we've been doing it for like 3 or 4 years now.
And I suppose with your film work as well, because I don't really have a lot of experience in filmmaking. I kind of wanted to know, do you have like specific roles or like, I suppose, responsibilities within your practice where one person focuses on one thing, like storyboarding, and someone else focuses on, because I know that this work has like a text alongside it, like one person focuses on that, or just interested to know?
I feel like when we make stuff like together, like not really, it's like we like work on like each individual like element of it like together. It's like even we write like a script, we'll kind of like write like in a Google Doc and like write like a script like together and like edit like each other's like text. It's like, and with like 3D modeling, it's like working in something like Blender, you like make objects, but we can like exchange like the models we each have, and we'll use like each other's things that we've like made. It's like, I feel like people ask this like a lot, but it's like very difficult for me to like distinguish something I've made like individually, because I kind of haven't really made like anything like individually, because I've used like her things to like produce something myself, and also like we're so informed by each other that like even if I made something of my own, I feel like I can't like take like full like ownership. Like I wouldn't like almost like plagiarize like another person as much as I would like plagiarize like her. We do it like each other. Like we almost are quite like porous with like the boundaries we have around like our individual work, but we've like developed towards having like such like a kind of homogenous kind of like style that I don't even feel like I don't even really know what I've like made like on my own like anymore, or like we haven't really made like anything like individually. Yeah. I also feel like we're both like really bad at planning, so we don't like when you're like who like storyboards, neither of us storyboard. We just like we have a horrible working process. It's like also I can't work with other people because we just like don't plan stuff, and we just like put stuff in Premiere, like what order should we put it in like at the end.
So what was like the history behind you finding this technique to use in your films? Was one in particular interested in like CAD or CG, and it kind of moved organically into that? Or
I feel like it's like in like undergrad we like both used to make these kinds of like animations on like After Effects that were like made from like photographs that were like cut up in like 2D. But I feel like we started like learning 3D because I feel like with like 2D it's like on like a flat plane, it's like quite like limited. I feel like with 3D you can just like make stuff and like shoot it with a camera. But I think like also I like tried to do like camera based work, but I feel like at the time that like we were both doing that, we were both quite interested in stuff that was like felt more like suitable to like animation, like stuff to do with like, I feel like this is like not the case anymore, but stuff with like magic and like witchcraft and stuff. But it's like quite hard to do that with like camera based stuff with like special effects. Like I feel like there's something you can kind of do like a lot more with like animation. But also like when I started using like 3D, if you like make like a film like in like actual space, like if you wanted to like make a set, it would be like so expensive to make something like as elaborate as you like want to make it. With like 3D you can kind of make like anything and just like design a space. So like that's like also like kind of why your language with the sculptures that you make, there's such a skill and like sharpness to everything. We spoke like off camera and on Zoom before when we were setting the show up, and I remember you mentioning more like tangible physical pieces. You were talking about like stained glass making, I think, or could you talk more about like what you're interested in, or are you still like thinking of making things that are physical? I feel like we've like started to learn like stained glass and stuff. I feel like it's kind of really related to like the stuff we made on like Blender, because it's just like a way to like manifest that in real life. Because I think like before we did stuff with like 3D printing and things, but like that just like is quite limiting because it's only really like creating stuff that's on Blender and like plastic. Which what's like the learning curve with that, because you're so eloquent with this work? It's like quite hard though. I feel like with like physical materials, I think we have like more difficulty. I think once you get used to using like something digital or like get proficient with like 3D, it's like you can like manifest something in a way that's like really like perfect and satisfying. It's when I make something by hand, it's like no, I think it looks like really terrible, but it's like there's way more like visible kind of imperfection. It's like you can really expedite making something in a way that feels like very like formally successful. It's like I really like stained glass, but it's like a whole like skill or craft like in isolation that people like dedicate their whole lives to. It's like I like really enjoy like doing it, but it kind of almost like it's like a slower process. It like takes more time. Like we're like learning to do that, but to like fabricate something, because I feel like we've like made like sculptural things and like had them like outsourced like workshops like with people who already have skills. It's almost like dedicating like time towards like personally fabricating something like that. It's like a whole other like we're like kind of like working on that at the minute, and I like would like to become like proficient or like make something like one day that's like really like beautiful in that like material. But it's like like a lot of like time. It's a practice, right? I wanted to go quickly back to the collaboration, and you were saying like you anticipate what each other's gonna do, and that's really nice. And like we obviously have this collaboration as well, and like it's funny because we like disagree about a lot of stuff, and we like
don't like, we want it done in very particular ways. But I just wondered if you ever disagree or whether anything goes wrong. You know, do you like get really annoyed with your sister?
I feel like we do like disagree. I feel like sometimes it's like also like if one of us has like made something that's like I hate this, then the other one will be like, no, I still want to use it. And then like if like it's my thing that gets like kept in the video like forever, I'll be like, I still hate that.
I was going to ask about film work as well, of like, you know, broad kind of like Hollywood or just like regular film. Like we're all really into horror films and kind of like that's what we kind of bonded over.
I like horror too.
Yeah, what like obviously for this there's particular references, but just broadly, like, do you enjoy film, or what sort of films do you like in that sort of respect?
I feel like mostly like we both like look at film. Like I actually don't look at like stuff in like a fine art context like that much. Like I feel like even like I don't know, like I feel like I do look at fine art and stuff, but it's mostly kind of like in a film context, like in like film festivals or like a bit more artsy. Like I don't go to like exhibitions or anything like that much. I feel like I'm like mostly interested in film. I feel like we're both quite into like horror and things. Yeah. I feel like that's like where like my like motivation to do art like came from, like film, not like fine art. Yeah, like I think like in a way we look at like more things that are like slightly more like cinematic type film than like art. Like I like things that are like kind of experimental or like traverse those like two worlds. But yeah,
I think something that also interested me about your film work more broadly is that I think there's something about, like, I don't know a lot about film or like 3D animation, but there's something about your work that to me feels really reminiscent, and I've written about it in the press release a little bit, of like late 90s, early 2000s video games. And I just wanted to know if that was like some, like, did you play a lot of games growing up? Like, was it a conscious reference point for you? Like, even with the sound work that is in the film, it feels like very indicative of that in like a really satisfying way.
I feel like not really like as much like in this way. I think like some of the aesthetics like that are like rooted in like something like in the internet, though. It's like these things are really like affect driven. Like even like if like we're both really into like YouTube like slow reverbs, but it's kind of like this way like of like creating like a kind of like affect like around something. It's like almost like taking, it's like looking at something like that and seeing like in some way how it's successful in terms of like eliciting like a kind of affect. It's like with this like ASMR thing and stuff, it's like kind of trying to like appeal like emotionally in a way to people, to like endear people towards like a certain like subject, or like trying to like help like people like engage with something. I think it can be like more effective in a way to like appeal like emotionally, because I feel like with like things like looking at like institutions like in Ireland, and it's like a statistic is like very dry. It's like a way of kind of making something in like 4D, or like helping someone understand in a slightly more like visceral way, like by generating some kind of affect. But I don't know, like maybe this is not true. It's like a way in which like we're trying to engage, or like an approach. It's like, I don't know, it's like trying to help like someone feel, or like guide someone towards like a feeling that like we had like engaging with like certain materials. Yeah. Although I feel like we like both played The Sims a lot when we were like kids, so I feel like it's like the 3D spaces, like the rooms. I'm like, it's Sims by like 10.
Well, I suppose in a way something else that I kind of wanted to mention, like on that line of inquiry about like video games and creating like immersive spaces and stuff, I really like the sound that's in this film. And I think, you know, when we've had people come to see the show for openings or whatever, and, you know, we chat to everyone that comes by and like talk to them about the exhibition and what they thought and all sorts. And like the number one thing I get back is that people found the sound element really effective and like really kind of emotionally engaging. And I suppose with that, I wanted to ask like where you sourced that, because I know there are different elements, that there's like a burst of thunder and there's like rainfall and all sorts, and I was curious to know like how you sourced that, I guess, like where that comes from.
I feel like they're mostly just like sound effects. I feel like we wanted like background noise that was like silence, but like not silence. I feel like in like more recent stuff we've like synthesized like sound ourselves, but like in that one we like didn't do that. Yeah. I feel like we've like edited it like intentionally in a way, like kind of creating like background sounds, but like editing it towards like a certain kind of like affect, and in particular like moments it's like manipulating the sound, but it's like using kind of almost like the like equivalent of like a stock image like type like rain like or whatever. It's like we'll like introduce like things like in the visual through like changing the sound. We haven't like produced the sound, but yeah, we've done like in a more recent work we've done like physical modeling. It's kind of how like sound effects are used or made like for video games, where like you use like sound waves and like manipulate them to make like a rain sound that you can manipulate more like specifically. Yeah.
Just being conscious that we've I think we are like half an hour, and what a pleasant way to have spent half an hour. But this would be like maybe the rapid fire section of our questions for the last few. So I'll go first. Duos. What duos are you interested in? Do you like any other artist duos? Are there any in particular that stand out?
I don't really know. I feel like I like never look at people like specifically to do with like their working like dynamic like that. Like I can't think of like anybody where I've looked at them and be like they're working together, so I like it. Like, I don't know.
You're not like Gilbert and George stans, you know?
Yeah.
Like, no, okay. More like the other question is like more broadly, like who's your like, you know, contemporary art like crush? Who do you look at like in the contemporary art world that you're like, oh, I want to be like them, or have references to your work, I suppose?
I feel like with like 3D stuff, like I like people like Danielle, like Brathwaite, Shirley. I feel like her work is like so different from like ours, because it's like games and like we don't make games like at all. But I feel like it like shows a way to like world with like 3D that's like really good and quite like confronting and stuff. Yeah, and like in terms of like filmmakers, we both really like this person. It's like Mariam Tafakori. She's like Iranian, but like making like work like in the UK. I think she's doing like a PhD at the minute. Her work is really, really good. I feel like it's like articulating certain like conditions in like Iranian like society and things, but it's like not like the same thing, but it's kind of a critical lens on like a kind of condition that she like grew up in. Yeah, because like she has this like piece of work that's about like the trope of like the bag in like Iranian like film, but it's like how the bag is used as like a mediator for like touch, so like people never touch each other, but it's like always in the middle of like interactions, and like, but like it's such a good film. But yeah. I'm like not articulate it well, but yeah, you should just,
no,
like,
that's
yeah.
fine. So is her work primarily film then? Or
Yeah, but I feel like it's like very like research based. Like she looks at kind of like yeah, and like performance. Like I feel like I like her work because like I saw her at like a festival where like she had a film, but she like did a performance where there was like a film in the background, and she like read like a text over it. But it's like probably like the best like art thing I've seen like ever. It was like so good. Yeah.
cool. I suppose getting onto that point kind of to round off then, because I know you'd mentioned like film and performance, and we've been chatting about sound. I suppose like what's next for the both of you? Like where do you think you see your work going? Like are there any materials that you really want to work with, or mediums that you want to try that you've not like used yet?
I feel like at the minute we're like finishing a film that's like about psychiatric like institutions in Ireland. It's kind of part of like the same like wider project as like this film, but I feel like we need to like finish it over summer because of like deadlines with funding, and then we're gonna do like a postgrad, like both of us like the same one. So like I'm not really sure like what I'm gonna do like after that, because I feel like just like practically we've both been like trying to like work as like artists in like film for like quite a while, and like I'm not really actually sure like what I want to do anymore, because I feel like it's like a process. I'm like still figuring that out. I feel so put in the spot.
Yeah. We can wrap up then. Thank you. Thanks so much.